Welcome, everyone. As the first Black President of the United States, it is not only my privilege, but my pleasure to introduce the first presentation of the restored classic 1962 movie, To Kill a Mockingbird, at this 2012 celebration of the 50th anniversary of the movie. In addition, it is my honor to interview the author of the book from which the movie was created, Miss Harper Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am deeply honored that you are celebrating the 50th anniversary of To Kill a Mockingbird by introducing it to a national audience. I believe it remains the best translation of a book to film ever made, and I'm proud to know that Gregory Peck's portrayal of Atticus Finch lives on, in a world that needs him now more than ever.
Yes, Miss Lee, I concur. The world does need more people who do the right thing, and stand up for what is right, even in the face of difficult circumstances and prejudice. But, let us not dwell on that issue. Let's talk, just for a few minutes, about you. You've rarely been interviewed your whole life. That's quite a long time. If I get my history right, you were born the same year that the television was invented.
Yes, that's right.
And, actually, To Kill a Mockingbird is the only book you ever wrote. Talk about resting on your laurels.
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. As you may know, I was the youngest of 4 children. My father was a lawyer. I studied at Huntington College in Alabama, then for a year at Oxford, in England. Then I returned to the States and studied law, like my father, at the University of Alabama, but dropped out to move to New York, where I worked as an airline reservation clerk and wrote. I wrote very slowly. I was 34 years old when I finished and published To Kill a Mockingbird. And, yes, as you said, that was it for me. I never wrote another novel. I wasn't resting on my laurels, though. I was overwhelmed by the success of the book, too paralyzed to write another. As I said in 1964, I was hoping for a quick and merciful death at the hands of reviewers, but at the same time, I sort of hoped that maybe someone would like it enough to give me encouragement. I hoped for a litter, as I said, but I got rather a whole lot. And in some ways this was just about as frightening as the quick, merciful death I'd expected.
How did you feel when your book was made into a movie, and when the movie received an Academy Award?
I felt grateful to everyone who helped translate the book into a movie, and became and remained lifelong friends with Gregory Peck, who had the starring role as Atticus Finch, who I modeled after my own father.
Your book is required reading for many high school students to this day. How do you feel about that?
I am humbled and proud. I believe it is important to acknowledge our history, even when it's ugly. That I contribute to helping students achieve that has always been a source of pride for me, especially since I was born and raised a Southerner myself. Even more gratifying, though, is that I was informed that in the American Film Industry's survey of film heroes, Atticus Finch was listed as the #1 film hero of all time.
I am not the first president to have the honor of recognizing your achievement.
No! In 1966, I was named to the National Council on the Arts by President Lyndon Johnson, and in 2007, I was presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom from George W. Bush.
In closing, I want to thank you for all your work and let you know what a privilege it has been to meet you. I also want to leave the audience with my favorite quote from the book. I wanted you to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand. It's when you know you were licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and you see it through no matter what. You rarely win, but sometimes you do.